Ladies and gentlemen, let's not lie to ourselves anymore. In a world driven by likes, luxury, and lifestyle, love is no longer just about connection. It's about convenience. It's about compatibility, yes, but not just emotionally. Financially, we've entered an era where relationships are not just between hearts, they are contracts, silent agreements, and money, more often than not, holds the pen. Look around. What was once about letters and longing has turned into transactions and leverage. Today, your wallet often speaks louder than your words. Romantic dinners, vacations, gifts, lifestyle compatibility, all of it revolves around how much you can spend, not how much you can feel. And when money disappears too often, so does the relationship. It's not just about gold, diggers, that's too easy to say. It's deeper, it's systemic. We've grown up in a culture that glorifies financial success as emotional worth. He drives a BMW, he's a keeper. She carries a Louis Vuitton. She's wife material. It's not evil. It's not even shocking anymore. It's just normal. That's the tragedy, and men feel the pressure. They are taught to equate their masculinity with their earning capacity. Be a provider or don't bother. And women, they're told to marry up, not just out of desire, but survival. Because in a society where security is fragile, love alone doesn't pay the bills. Even the language of relationships has changed. We talk about investment, return, wasting time. We swipe left not just based on looks, but on perceived lifestyle, no bio, no future, and when financial tides change, when a man loses his job or a woman earns more, it's not just income that shifts. Power does, respect does, sometimes love does, but here's the haunting part. Even the most genuine connections often rot under the weight of financial strain. Arguments begin, resentments grow, not because love isn't there, but because love isn't enough anymore. And it's not entirely our fault. We've been conditioned to believe that the more someone spends on us, the more they love us, that a vacation means devotion, that a ring means commitment, and if they can't provide that, we question their value. In today's world, relationships are being filtered through price tags. Some people aren't falling in love. They are falling into lifestyle upgrades. Some aren't choosing partners. They are choosing sponsors. And beneath the surface of passion and promises, there's often a silent calculation. So the question isn't, does money matter in relationships today? The question is, when did it start mattering more than love itself? In today's world, love and emotional compatibility are no longer the only foundations of a relationship. Modern relationships are increasingly shaped by financial expectations and material comfort. People often consider a partner's financial status before they truly get to know their character, values, or emotional depth. The dream of growing together through thick and thin is slowly being replaced by the demand for ready-made stability. We're not falling in love with people. Sometimes we're falling in love with what they can offer. The home, the lifestyle, the vacations, the Instagram-worthy moment. All become part of the equation that defines attraction. Emotional connection, while still romanticized in words, often takes a backseat when confronted with financial reality. In the age of social media and curated perfection, it's easy to see how financial standing has become a benchmark for desirability. We've created a culture where love is measured in gifts, where birthdays are judged by the size of the celebration, and where the depth of a relationship is gauged by the ability to maintain a certain lifestyle. The value of a person is too often judged by the size of their bank account, not the sincerity of their heart. This shift doesn't just affect the choices we make, it affects how we feel about ourselves too. People begin to question their worth based on how much they can provide, not how much they can love. Financial insecurity starts to look like emotional inadequacy. When relationships begin to revolve around money, love becomes conditional, transactional, and ultimately unstable. Financial compatibility becomes a precondition to romance, and people hesitate to commit unless all economic boxes are checked. This changes the way we approach love, creating fear, comparison, and competition where there should be acceptance, support, and patience. People pretend to be richer than they are, not out of vanity, but out of fear of being unchosen. The pressure to present a certain financial image overshadows authentic connection. We start to chase partners we can afford or ones who can afford us, instead of those we genuinely feel connected to from a young age. Society teaches us that success is tied to wealth, and eventually that belief seeps into our understanding of relationships. We're taught that to be worthy of love, we must be financially stable, and to be desirable, we must be financially impressive. This pressure affects both men and women in different but equally impactful ways. For men, the idea that they must be providers often overshadows any emotional qualities they may possess. Kindness, empathy, loyalty. These traits become secondary to income, assets, and ambition. For women, the social messaging can be equally demanding, encouraging them to seek financial security in a partner rather than emotional safety. In both cases, financial success becomes the standard for emotional worth. This societal pressure doesn't stop at the dating stage. Even long-term relationships and marriages are not immune. People constantly compare their lives to others, measuring love by what's seen rather than what's felt. A bigger ring, a flashier wedding, a better honeymoon, these are the symbols of real love now. The relationship becomes a stage performance, and money funds the set, the costumes, and the applause. When money becomes the unspoken scorecard, even the most sincere gestures can feel inadequate if they don't come with a price tag. A heartfelt letter or a home-cooked meal is overshadowed by luxury gifts and expensive experiences. The media reinforces these beliefs daily. Movies, advertisements, influencers all paint a picture that luxury equals love. The more you spend, the more you care. The more you give, the more you're worth. This constant messaging creates an emotional economy where feelings are valued based on financial expression. This system damages people in quiet, invisible ways. Those who can't meet the financial expectations start to question their lovability. Those who are wealthy may question if they're loved for who they are or what they provide. Everyone ends up in a cycle of proving themselves through material means. The weight of that expectation dulls the purity of connection and changes the language of love into a currency-based transaction in today's world. The dynamics of gender roles within relationships have shifted, but the influence of money continues to dictate many of those changes. Men are still largely expected to be providers, and their ability to earn is directly tied to their perceived value as partners. The pressure to achieve financial success weighs heavily on their sense of identity. A man without a steady income or career path is often seen as unfit for a long-term relationship, no matter how emotionally available or loyal he might be. This idea pushes many men to prioritize work over love, success over connection, and ambition over emotional presence. When they fall short of these expectations, their confidence in relationships begins to erode, creating emotional distance and internalized shame. On the other hand, women have increasingly entered the workforce, becoming financially independent and successful in their own right. However, this independence comes with its own set of challenges. Many successful women struggle to find partners who feel secure in their presence. Some men feel threatened, others feel inadequate, and societal norms still push women to seek partners who earn more, even when they don't need financial support. This contradiction creates tension and confusion, where both men and women feel they are not enough or too much based on income. A woman who earns more might feel pressure to downplay her success, while a man who earns less may carry a silent burden of inadequacy. These unspoken expectations complicate relationships. Conversations about money become emotional landmines, and the fear of being judged based on financial contribution builds resentment. Roles in the household, responsibilities, and even affection can become unbalanced when income is used as the measure of control or respect. Love turns into a silent competition rather than a shared journey. When financial roles are not openly discussed or understood, they breed insecurity, power struggles, and emotional disconnect. Instead of building a relationship based on mutual growth and support, many couples end up managing a fragile balance where money dictates behavior, decisions, and even self-worth. Financial strain is one of the leading causes of tension in relationships today. No matter how deeply two people care for each other, when financial worries enter the equation, they begin to chip away at the foundation of trust, patience, and emotional safety. Bills, debts, rent, daily expenses, these aren't just practical issues, they become emotional triggers. A missed payment can lead to an argument, a budgeting mistake can ignite blame, and long-term financial instability can create feelings of failure and fear. In such an environment, love doesn't disappear instantly, but it begins to suffocate under the weight of constant stress. The emotional bandwidth of the relationship shrinks, and conversations start revolving around survival instead of dreams. The pressure of keeping up with expectations, both personal and societal, intensifies the issue. Social media paints a picture of what successful couples should look like: traveling together, dining at expensive places, living in perfectly curated homes. When couples struggle to meet these visual standards, it leads to shame and comparison. People begin to question the health of their relationship simply because their lifestyle doesn't reflect what they see online. This creates unrealistic pressure where financial struggles are seen not as common hurdles, but as personal or relational failures. In relationships where one partner earns significantly more than the other, power imbalances often form silently. The one who brings in more money may, even unintentionally, begin to make more decisions or feel more entitled. The partner earning less may start to feel like a burden, which affects confidence, communication, and emotional closeness. Resentment can grow quietly when these dynamics go unaddressed, turning small misunderstandings into deeper cracks. When couples don't feel financially secure, they tend to argue more, trust less, and dream smaller. They may stop discussing future plans or avoid making big decisions altogether, fearing that money, or the lack of it, will derail everything. What should be a safe, loving partnership begins to resemble a business partnership on the verge of collapse, held together not by mutual joy, but by necessity and compromise. In such situations, even small joys become overshadowed by financial anxiety, making it difficult to nurture romance, appreciation, or long-term vision. Love, in its purest form, was once about connection, vulnerability, and emotional presence, but the rise of consumer culture has gradually transformed it into something far more transactional. The commercialization of love has embedded itself so deeply into modern life that many people don't even recognize how much it shapes their expectations. Valentine's Day, anniversaries, birthdays, every occasion is now linked with a price tag. The deeper the love, the more extravagant the gift is expected to be. Advertisements constantly equate expensive items with meaningful affection, training people to believe that material expression is the ultimate validation of care. A heartfelt conversation or small, thoughtful gesture can feel insignificant in comparison to a costly surprise, not because it lacks sincerity, but because it lacks spectacle. This mindset has seeped into dating culture as well. People are evaluated not just for who they are, but for what they can offer. Dating apps, social media, and lifestyle branding have turned attraction into a marketplace. A person's income, fashion sense, vacation habits, and car brand become indicators of their romantic potential. Even simple dates are judged by how much was spent rather than how much was felt. The commercialization of love creates an unspoken standard. If someone isn't financially impressive, their emotional depth might never get a chance to be seen. Relationships become status symbols used to reflect personal success rather than personal happiness. When emotional needs are constantly overshadowed by financial gestures, love loses its grounding. People start to measure their worth in a relationship based on what they can buy or receive. If someone can't afford to participate in this consumer driven dance, they may feel inadequate, even if their intentions are pure. And if someone can afford it, they may worry they're being loved for their resources instead of their heart. This results in a cycle where love is no longer about understanding and connection, but about performance and presentation. As romantic bonds begin to mirror business transactions, complete with negotiations, expectations, and returns on investment, the original essence of love begins to fade quietly in the background, replaced by deals disguised as devotion.